One of the things I find consistent is people who are teaching others how to turn always talk about riding the bevel. Right? And one of the things I discover is as many times as you say that to someone, people don't always get it. And so I figured out a method. Well, I figured out some demonstration ideas which may help there. So real quick, what I'm going to do is show some new ideas about how to communicate riding the bevel. We haven't started yet. This is a piece of tuba fork. One of the best kinds of wood to use. It's free. Split tuba forks are not quite free, but they're awful close. Okay, there are 5 cuts. There are 5 basic cuts in spindle turning. First one's called the planing cut, and it's what you use to plane the surface. Now the tool, you can see, okay? The tool, when it's held horizontal like this, is not efficient. A lot of people like to do that when they make this cut, but it's not efficient. Turning straight into the wood is the most efficient, but it's not easy to make a nice clean surface. So what you end up doing is, what is that? Is that about 25 degrees off of perpendicular? You touch the wood where it can't cut. I'm on the heel of the bevel, and I raise the back end. And as soon as something starts coming off the front, that means I'm on the bevel. That means the cut is happening. Now the bevel itself rides the surface of the wood that has been cut. One of the things I find is that people want, in this case, my front hand is my left hand, they want to push with this hand, and that's incorrect. This hand only keeps the tool down on the rest. It's the back hand that does all the pushing. And what happens is the bevel, which is an inclined plane, here I can't pull with it, right? I can't push the front end this way because we have a finger on top. And what happens is I'm pushing across the wood, and because the bevel is an inclined plane, the tool slides on the wood. Now you notice here, I'm doing this on purpose. See how slow I go? There's absolutely nothing necessary to go fast. Doesn't mean you can't go fast, but going fast with improper technique is still improper. Okay, here's the second cut. You ready? Firstly, I call it an oblique cut, though it's probably not because it's not, I don't know, acute enough. But what can we see? Can we back it up a little so you see the whole tool? Okay, don't worry about that. But I have, if you look closely, I have the handle of this tool low, and I'm up close to the wood, but I haven't touched it. And I do not push the tool forward. What I do is simply raise the back end, and the tool moves forward all by itself. It doesn't slide on the rest. And I now have something behind my bevel, and then I push. Do it again, ready? Real low. Bring it up, it cuts, push. Real low, bring it up, push. Same on the other side. That is a spindle gouge. That's how you make positive and negative V cuts. Now the third one, and here's where we're going to not pull the tool with the front hand. Okay? I'm not going to pull the tool with the front hand. What I'm going to do is that fulcrum to get started and push the tool. Do it again here. I'm using that inclined plane to slide the tool off. Look what I did. If you use your left hand, what are you going to use it for? You're going to use it to push. And there's nothing horribly wrong with it, but it's not using the plane for what it's supposed to be doing. Third is the bead. Now this is the one where that not pushing with the left hand, but the front hand is most graphic. The top of any bead is flat. And so what you're doing is doing that planing cut. You see it? Real light, real slow, I'm in no hurry. And I start swinging the back end of the tool. See how far it goes? If you aren't going that far, you're not getting a round bead. What you'll end up with is a bead that may be round on top, but the sides will stay sloped out like that. And, I'm going to do it again, okay, same side. I am not pushing in either direction with my front hand. The front hand only keeps things down on the rest. Top of any bead is planing cut, and I push the tool forward as I go around the circle. At the very end, bring it up a little so I get the sharpest, thinnest point down in that little groove. Here's the other direction. Look at this, I've still got a flat here, I haven't quite got it around, but it's a nice, clean, smooth finish. It's always in control. I don't have to go fast. It's not speed or power that makes it work. It's very simply keeping that bevel on the surface. What's going to happen if I use my left hand? What happens if I use my right hand? Let's do the planing cut here. I'm going to use my hand here. It is necessary that both of my hands move at the same speed. Uh-oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to pull it with my front hand. See, I can cut pretty well with this. The risk is this. For someone who doesn't quite recognize what the bevel is supposed to be doing, they will tend to float the tool away from the surface. And you end up with a rougher, uncontrolled cut. So you see the little bumps? That's because the tool touches every now and again on the bevel, but it doesn't slide on the bevel. It's that inclined plane that does it. I don't need that left hand, well, maybe I do, I don't know. I don't need that left hand at all, that front hand. as long as I slide the tool on the bevel. When the tool's like this, I'm not pushing it this direction. I'm pushing it that direction. Just the way the pyramids were built. They brought stuff up the ramp, they brought big rocks up the ramp. Well, that ramp is an inclined plane, and they just push it right up the plane. That's what I'm doing here. Second thing that can go wrong if I use both hands is I tend to push the left hand faster and the right hand pushes the handle that way. And what happens is you end up with this, your tool coming out. Okay? That doesn't happen if you only push at the back. The other thing that can happen is if you do get both your hands working together, some people still hit at their body. And if you stop and think about it, this tool is like this. There's my bevel, it's on the surface. If I pivot it, it comes out of the wood. Can you see that my bevel on the back, the heel right here, it's straight across. Okay? Some people have started sweeping back this edge on their spindle gouges. And what that is it's a contamination. Okay? Bowl gouges became really, really popular in late 80s, early 90s. And everybody used them for everything, including spindle turning. And so, well, golly, you sweep back bowl gouges, that means you sweep back spindle gouges too. And you find these things, the spindle gouge that's ground way back to here, and there's just no profit in it. You don't gain anything. It tends to make the front a little skinnier, which makes it harder to control. That's spindle gouge. It doesn't really matter if you're using 45 or 40 or what degree this bevel is. Did I leave anything out? When people talk about riding the bevel, it's just, see this, it didn't occur to me how to say this. And the truth be told, it only occurred to me what I was doing when I was doing this technique 4 or 5 years ago. And I just spent some time trying to learn how to say it. And this is it. The tool pushes forward with the back hand. And it's just that simple. There's absolutely no hurry as long as I stay on the bevel. I can even look away and I can talk to you as long as I stay on the bevel, as long as my tool is pushed forward. Oh, I fell off the end. As long as my tool pushes forward, I don't need my left hand to control it. And it's about pushing. Okay, we'll start making ornaments now.
Question,
Hello.
what's the difference between your spindle gouge and a detail gouge?
A detail gouge tends to have a thicker cross section, a more shallow, flute. And I don't use them. I've never used one. Well, I can't say I've never used one. I have never used one for more than 3 or 4 minutes. They don't do anything for me. The purpose of a detail gouge is because it's thick, it doesn't vibrate. It doesn't tend to vibrate. But a spindle gouge should be so close to your work anyhow, you shouldn't have to worry about being way across the surface and vibrating. I don't know how small a bead you want to make. That's pretty detailish to me, I think. It's a 1/2 inch. I got a 3/8. That's the only other one I got. Getting down into the very, very bottom, inside those things, there is no spindle gouge that will do that, right? If you want to get right down there into the bottom, you have to use a skew. Simply because the curved part of the flute will get in your way. This is, I believe it's a piece of ash. It's something I had laying around. Last night about midnight, I was looking for what I was going to bring. And this was part of something else I turned in as a demonstration and cut part of it off. And here we are. So, free wood, or second life wood. Now, see, here's an out around piece, right? First thing I do is I slow it down. And the reason I slow it down, there's this basic idea, right? If you start slow, you always get a chance to speed it up. If you start fast, you may not get a chance to slow it down. Okay? So, here we are, first thing. Turn it by hand to make sure it doesn't hit my wrist. There we go. Things nice and tight. Get out of the way. Now, the thing that's going through my head just now is, can I turn it like this? And I can't, because I don't have much of a grip down here. It's real weak. I'm going to be in grain hollowing. So I actually have to turn this twice. Take this out of the chuck twice because I use this nasty piece of wood. This is that oblique cut. You ready? This is one of the primary uses for the oblique cut. Okay, have a tenon. Use this anymore for a while, I hope. So, okay.
You want it off there?
Yeah. We'll find out. I hope this is big enough. Might be. Okay, now you notice I don't have a shoulder. It'd be nice to have a shoulder, but I don't have to have a shoulder. You know, in Mexico, the Woodturners, you know, they're a little more macho down there. And so they say, oh, I don't need no stinking shoulder. Okay, we're going to do this the easy way. Ready? Here it comes. It's not tight, a little bit snug, slowed it down. You know, wood end on a handle. There you go. What do you think? Is that okay? Okay. Okay, so we're going to make a bell. A bell is a goblet. Now I'm going to make a relatively traditional looking bell. But if you think about it, you can make almost any kind of bell. Here's a Chinese or a Japanese bell. Don't worry about this part, I'm just taking it off because it's not a bell. Are you guys ready for the first joke? Okay. You know, Idaho is known for growing potatoes. You know what potato farmers in Idaho call potatoes that are not grown in Idaho? I don't know. Oh, okay, I'll quit for a while. Okay. You want an Oriental bell? There it is. That's the way they do it. Now, something else I was thinking about today, last night actually. What happens if you make a bell that's round? Cut it away the same way on the back and make the vessel of the bell just round like a ball. It never occurred to me to do it. It's kind of neat though, I think. Uh-oh. Okay. Traditional bell. I'm going to get down, haven't quite got the rough off yet. I'm going to get down my final size. Just like a goblet, I'm going to turn the inside first. You can hollow one of these with almost anything. You know, your easy wood tools, the round easy wood tools, 1/2-inch round nose scraper. That's what this is. I mean, that's typically what you do. You can also use a spindle gouge. Pretty fast. You have a problem with depth. The more blunt your bevel, the easier it is to do this. Okay. You can make the same shape with a 1/2-inch round nose scraper. And normally, this is the way I do the majority of my end grain hollowing. I apologize, I'm going too fast. see in there? Who knows what a nib is? A little thingy in the middle? If this is the nib and you're inside there trying to cut, and you hit on top of the nib, what you do is you cut a little groove. If you hit under the nib, you create a little groove. This will be a flat-sided groove, both of those will. If you hit on the left side of it, you'll create a round groove. If you hit on the right side, chances are your tool goes whack, right? It's very uncomfortable. Now, what happens if you hit the nib below the cutting edge in the middle of the piece of tool? It will just ride there. And it doesn't matter how hard you push, it will ride there. Nobody can drive that flat piece of steel into the wood. And that's, I don't know if you guys know that, that's the fourth law, right? Bevel never cuts. And even though that's not a bevel, it's still the same principle, right? So, okay. So what does work is the center of the tool, exactly on the cutting edge. When it touches the nib melts. You don't have to push hard. It likes to cut the nib. And what will happen, you search for the nib, you can feel it. When you get real close, all of a sudden the tool starts wobbling. And then when you hit it, it just drills a little hole. Guys, can you see it? Can you see the hole? Okay. It just drills. And once you have that hole drilled, you want to cut the end grain, or you want to cut the piece of wood the easiest way it is to cut, and that is straight sideways. Side grain cuts real easy. End grain doesn't. Luckily, there just so happens that that spot on the nib cuts real easy. Even though it's end grain, right? The nib cuts real easy. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Going to make a bell. This is a flared bell, kind of a traditional Western looking bell. I'm using all the wood here. You don't have to. Ever tell you about my Darth Vader helmet I made? I built this lathe. I call it the Harris 3000. And I had this, I built it because I wanted to turn big things. And so, I always maximize the size of the bowls I turn. That's 30-inch swing. And so, whatever the piece of wood looked like after I got it done with the chainsaw, that's how big. And sometimes that was the shape of my bowl. So at any rate, I had this, I don't know, 24-inch diameter piece of wet walnut, and I cut it, and when I was done, it had a flat bottom, a relatively tight corner, pretty much straight, and then a flare. And if you turn it upside down, I had this 24-inch diameter Darth Vader helmet, and it just looked lousy. It was quarter-inch thick, it was nice, I mean, no tear out or anything. But because I was unwilling to cut the shape and had to use that wood, I ended up with a very ugly bowl. And one of the things really one of the places I discovered, I watched Ellsworth in a demonstration. If I remember correctly, it was 2 bowls from a log. And he was talking a little bit about shape, and he started out with, I don't know, 16-inch diameter piece of wood. It was wet, it was soft, it was maple. And when it was over, he had an 8-inch bowl. And it wasn't because he couldn't have turned a bigger one. He just didn't care about wood. The wood itself didn't have value. And so he was willing just to put it on the floor to achieve his goals. And so unless someone is here wanting to make Darth Vader helmets, the goal is to make a pretty piece of wood, a pretty finished product. Okay, it's pretty close, pretty good. Got a little hump in it, and we're going to take the hump out. I don't know if you guys have seen this tool before. This is still a 1/2-inch round nose scraper. I've cut away the side of that. And for me, it's just really kind of an artifact of the work I do. I want this, the left curve here to be smooth. I don't want any hitch in the giddy up. See, this side I've left that little angle that happens, the corner that happens, because I don't use that side. But this side I've taken it off. This tool's been around for a while, and slowly it's just gotten thinner and thinner and thinner. However, this flat is also useful to me, and I'm going to use it now. See, the sharp front there was permitting me to dig in here, to cut deeper than I wanted way back here. And so I'm just using this flat edge, get rid of that little hump I created, or not hump, the opposite of a hump. Not hump. Not hump. Isn't that what you say? What? Well, concavity, yeah, see, that's a good word. Okay. And what's the best reason for finishing this real good on the inside? You don't have sand. Okay. Question. Hello.
I got a question.
I got one.
Are you flat on the tool rest? It doesn't look it.
Almost always I was. When I was using the last tool, I was not. And what I did, this is the tool rest. It's okay to lift the right side. Makes the cut a little softer. What you must never do is lift the right side. And the reason is because when it touches the wood, it pulls it down, it whacks the rest, but since you're lifting it, it comes back up, and then it whacks, and then it comes up, and it whacks, and it's bad news, okay? You can't lift the left side, the right side's just fine. Okay? It's not very deep. Let's make it deeper. We're going to make it deeper. Does it seem like it? And I forgot something anyhow. I have to drill a hole. This is a real neat piece of wood. It's got a wavy grain. Now, I'm going to drill a hole in this. And in order to do that, to make it easier, I'm going to start a very small hole in the bottom. And it's not to take the place of the drill, but it's to give the drill a place to start. Okay, here we go, that'll work. Here we go. Oh, I lied, didn't I? This is point tool. Likes to cut right there on the thingy there, and so if I touch the nib in the middle, it will make a little dimple. There we go. We have a dimple. And I just so happen how this drill bit here.
You always carry that with you, Andy?
Yeah. Now, if you notice, I slowed this down. Almost always drill holes slow. And this hole doesn't need to be very deep.
What's the purpose of that hole?
I build a structure on the inside so I can hang the dinger. Has anybody ever had to drill a relatively thin hole and where it has to be straight? It just has to be. I use an 1/8 of an inch drill that's this long, and the way you make the hole exactly straight, never deviates, doesn't wander, as I push, I turn the chuck. Clean it frequently. Changes of the drill, changes in the wood are all canceled out. And I can drill 5 and 6 inch long, 1/8 inch diameter holes. I don't think I've ever gone over about 6 inches, but they're straight. And I don't mean within a 16th, they're straight. It's a very useful tool for a pipe maker. Okay, so I drilled a hole. I made this as clean as I'm going to. Get ready to turn the outside. Going back to my spindle gouge. Front part of this is a cove, all right? I've got the inside flared. So, start of this is a cove. You notice I start working on the part that's furthest from my attachment. If I come down here and start making this thin, make it weak, can't go back to the outside. It's my oblique cut, isn't it? Now I know you guys are old hands, and you've talked about third law, right? You can't make the inside bigger than the outside. The corollary to that is you can't make the outside smaller than the inside. And that's what I have to concern myself with here. Remember, it's not that front hand that does it. Me pushing against that inclined plane with the backhand. Absolutely no hurry. My finger calipers here. Hello.
Are you opening that as it moves ahead, or are you keeping the same?
When the cut starts, remember, so the bevel is always going to point the direction of cut. And since this front part of the cut is that direction, and the bottom part of the cut is that direction, when you make a cove, you have to turn your handle. See where my handle's going? Remember when I was making that bead? Well, let's make a bead. We got plenty of wood here. One of the reasons I wanted to back up a little bit, remember when I was talking about the overhead camera, is I wanted you to see how far the handle moves when you cut a bead. Top of the bead is flat. See where my handle is? See where my handle ends up? That's a quarter of a turn, which when you do it on the other side makes half a way, 180 degrees, right? And that's what makes round. Anything less leaves your sides at an angle. Well, a cove is an exact opposite of a bead. I'll demonstrate it here. Flat on the top. When it finishes, tool's on its side. Here it is. Now my tool's flat. Good for starting the bead again. So I haven't moved the tool. All I did was move it sideways. Now it's flat. Start the bead. It's up on its side. Back to the cove. And so the difference between that little bitty cove I'm making here and the cove I'm making here is this is longer. And so the back end will appear to move a lot further. One more cut.
Which law is that?
Actually, that's the disease. You get that little high-pitched sound, that means you better start thinking about doing something different. Okay, we'll move on. You know, this is the third one of these I've ever made. I've made bells before, but I've never made them with handles. And the first one I made, I wanted to make it real thin. I thought that was cool, it would sound better, and all those other excuses we have. So I made the whole thing real thin. Now, on the side grain here, that's pretty good, but when you got that thing sticking out on the end of this handle, end grain is not as strong. And so I turned it, it was fine, but when it came time to sand it, I pulled it right off. And so my takeaway from that is go ahead and make this part thin, but you'll better leave that up top a little more robust. Okay. One more cut, you know. You know, I took one lathe class in my life. And we were making these funny looking scoops. They're scoops, but they're not normal scoops. And I had made a cut early in the process that was at the end of it going to hamper the shape I wanted to make. And so that's the second one, right? Take it off, you can't put it back on. And so the only way I was going to approach the shape I wanted was to essentially, I mean, it wasn't guaranteed failure that I was going to blow it out, but I was going to make a part of it really skinny because I just wanted the shape. I'd rather have the shape, the good shape, than a finished product that's not what I wanted. And the teacher just peed his pants. He thought students are supposed to succeed, right? We just had different definitions of what success was. And so I blew it up. Okay, we'll count it. Now the rest of this doesn't really matter what you do with it. I think the handle should probably be in proportion to the rest of it. Doesn't have to be. What's a caroliner? Caroliner? Is that the guys that play the bells? I don't know what they're called. They have big bells and little bells. Well, do the little bells have small handles? I bet not. I bet all the handles are the same size.
That's correct.
But we're not going to do that.
What speed are you?
1865. That's the end of the Civil War. And the speed doesn't matter. I'm going to say two things, okay? One of them will please people who know me, and that is you should turn as fast as you're comfortable with. And my opinion is speed is your friend. And the faster you go, the better it is. And there is a caveat to that. Speed is your friend until it isn't. Okay. So, we're going to put a little ornamentation here on the top. Make sure it's still good. Yeah, plenty of room. Okay, I'm going to dig out my skew here. Make sure this little V, see, yeah, this little V is nice and clean. There you go. One more. There it is. Okay.
Well, if you needed to sand it, would you do it the dull part before you get the...
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's time. Before you weak it, I wasn't really going to stand it. I will. Just. I remember the last show I did here. I saw it on the internet, and I thought, who is that fool that spent half an hour standing? It was me. I was so pleased with my wax and sanding.
I like it.
Did you? Okay. Slow her down a little. Start with 150 grit. I forgot to bring the finish, so we're saved from that part at least. I would use a friction polish. That's what I did on the other one. Friction polish, you brought me friction polish. You're not my friend.
We're a full service club.
What?
We're a full service club.
Okay. But now I need a paper towel.
Not a problem.
What?
Not a problem.
Okay.
That's the money man.
Ooh. Okay, that's good enough. We don't need any more now. And here's the 220. Now usually when I sand things, native woods I only sand at 220. Oh. What? Yeah. But because this is such a small thing, I'll take it to 400. Shovel wax, I like that. It's from down under. You ever stop to think about why people don't fall off? Does it rain up? Do they wear umbrellas on the boots? Like you put the umbrella down here on the ground? I talked to that, I did that to a guy from Australia. He didn't laugh.
He's probably thinking, we should have the umbrella.
Oh, we got here first. Okay. Bell's done. Now watch out, watch out. Okay, we're better. You have to flood your surface first, right? You don't do it with a lathe runner. You have to flood the surface. You flood the surface because you want to make certain it goes everywhere. It covers everything. And only after that you turn it on and create the friction to cure it. Okay.
Do you do multiple layers as well?
Maybe. Not today though.
Oh, that's fine, I'm curious.
Okay. Finish out the handle. Remember I said there were 5 spindle cuts? Well, we only talked about 4, right? We talked about the planing cut, the oblique cut, the cove, and the bead. The 5th cut is called the peeling cut. And you can use a lot of tools to do it, as long as you're using your bevel. Oh, well, there we go.
What?
Give me a second there. Now I feel bad now. Here we go, we're gonna try it again. cute. How's that? Now, what tool would you normally use to do that with? It's a parting tool. A parting tool is a peeling cut. It's the same cut. Stay on top, use the bevel. Okay.
You ever use a jam chuck on the bell end?
That would certainly be something you would do. My intention is to make it too thin to do that with. If you had to hang this, right, you had to drill that hole in the end, that might be a good place to do it. I mean, a good reason to do it.
Are there some woods that don't lend themselves to being a nice bell?
Balsa wood. The truth is, I don't know. I think the key to bells is to make them thin enough. Now, I bet the softer you get, the worse it's going to be. I was thinking about it, not last night, the night before, I was thinking about lignum. Lignum would have a real nice ring, or no, I thought it would have a clunk when I think about that. I haven't actually made one. And so, what would happen if you made it thin enough? Could you get rid of the clunk? Well, I don't know. Kind of a plain looking bell, I don't know. Have some trouble getting in there. I'm going to go to my 3/8 inch gouge. I'm going to put a little knobber on the top, just for fun. Now, I'm going to sand that, I better do it, huh? Again, I start with 150.
Why do you stop at 220 on generic wood?
On what now?
Why do you stop selling at 220 on domestic wood?
Domestic woods are not hard enough to take a real high sheen, and it's only when you have, I say that wrong. The more you develop a sheen, the easier it is to see those scratches. And so it's not going to develop a sheen anyhow. There's no particular reason to sand any further. Well, let's look at this one when it's done here. And let's see if scratch marks are visible. And it could have something to do with the fact that I just hate sand. Okay. There's 220. The only thing I sand, let's see, native or no, hardwoods like lignum or cocobolo or African blackwood or something like that, I usually sand at 400 and sometimes use 4/0 steel wool. The only thing I sand further than that is plastics. You know, I make those pipe stems, and they're frequently made out of acrylics, and an acrylic is just, because it's so hard, it's going to develop that sheen I was talking about. You just have to sand it up. I sand it at 6 usually, and then we'll sometimes, I don't even own any sand, no, I take it back. I don't have any open sandpaper. Somebody gave me some of those foam-backed little box of things that go up to 1,600 or 16,000 or something. I never opened it. And that's just because I just don't want to. Okay?
What brand of sandpaper do you prefer?
That Norton 3X, I think that is just lovely stuff. Now they've changed their stuff lately, and they say it's just as good. But if it is, how come they changed it? Yeah, well, that may be it. The Chinese are making it now.
Yeah.
The only sandpaper of the new variety I purchased is the blue 400 grit, and it seems to me as though it wears out quicker. Uh-oh, I'm unplugged again. One of the things about gewgaws, gewgaws are cool, but you got to sand them. And so, if you're going to make them, you got to sand them, so you have to make a decision about whether you're going to put them on. Pass it around. Now I'm going to make the dinger. Now I'm going to make a wooden dinger, but I think, a sleigh bell, things it's got a little round ball inside of a crunched up sheet metal thingy. I think if you attach that solidly inside, you would have a better dinging wooden bell. But I'm going to make one with a wooden dinger just because I like it. I forgot to face it up.
I was about to say ta-da.
Oh, ta-da. Remember that little dimple I put in the end, on the inside of my bell just before I drilled? Here it is again. Here's where you can see it. That's all it takes. Okay, not going to drill too deep here. You ever make, what do you call them, bottle stoppers? I almost always make the outside smaller than the inside. They put that dowel in there, and I start working and I never think about it. The shape here is completely up to you.
Usually sand and polish those too. Usually sand and polish those too.
I was trying to avoid it.
That's the normal.
This is something that's in my box here. Here's some other thingies. Pass them around. Go ahead. The Christmas tree is something, we got time, don't we?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, Christmas tree is the other object I was going to make. You have first one I ever made. Someone told me about it. They said, I was teaching a student, they told me that there was this Christmas tree that had been turned obliquely. And so one of my assignments was to figure out a second relatively unique item to turn that was Christmassy. And so I just made one. I don't know that it's made the way the guy read about it. He said he found it on the internet. He's not hasn't been turned very long, so I don't know where he found it. Okay. Now this is a harder wood, and so I'm more inclined to sand 400 with it. I lost my sandpaper. Now you notice I dispensed with the 500. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
use dark wood for that, right?
Yeah.
Run behind your right hand.
Thank you. I used to make little bitty screws, handhead screws, out of African blackwood. Boy, talk about pain when you drop those. This is one of the things I make a class out of for new people. Usually use a little bit bigger piece of wood. It's still the same idea. Of course, you know I could always just get a different piece of wood. I brought a whole bag of it. Did I tell you a story about the helmet, the Darth Vader helmet? This is the same basic tendency in operation. Okay, now you can make the end flat here so my center fits. Okay. It's down there or not. No, it's good. 5 cuts, right? It's half a cove. Half a cove. Okay. Didn't quite get it around. There we go. That's pretty close. Finish the bottom. I don't have sandwich, right? Good. Now there's a technique here. It's not really a wood turning technique. Okay, I put my little dimple in there. Just so happened to have brought some fishing hooks. Oh, this will work. Now I think big hooks are better than little hooks. These are size 2. Just cut the eye off of it. Might as well slow it down, it's going to happen pretty fast. Grab a hold of it. One of the problems is always finding drill bits that are small enough. And so the thing to do is you just drill the hole with the eye. And you have to take it back out and put super glue on it. Get in there while I can. hitting the end?
In post.
Okay.
You are anyway, right?
Actually, I was going to make that thing in your right hand.
I don't think we've got time.
Okay. I'll at least show you how to do it. How's that?
Okay.
So there, little snowman ornament. Okay. So,
You have a question? Mark?
This has been concerning me. Why in the world would you be making panhead screws on the lathe?
you know what a togwa nut is?
Say it again.
Do you know what a togwa nut is?
Toggle nut?
Togwa,
No, sir.
the vegetable ivory.
Okay.
Okay, well, at any rate, it's a palm tree seed. It's fairly common. They're very, very hard. They're mostly cellulose. They're made out of cellulose. And there are lots of palm tree seeds. Togwa nut is just one, and I said that because maybe people are familiar with it. There's also a giant palm nut. And a giant palm nut looks like a cup. They can be quite large, and there's nothing on the top here, and so it's a little bowl. And on the opposite side, it's got the bottom of an apple. You know, the little feathery stuff that comes out of the bottom of an apple? That tends to rot, it leaves a hole. And so if I turn something out of that, I now have this hole. And what I do is chase a thread in that, make a panhead screw, and screw it in there.
Is it, you've got threads on the screw too?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh, here we go. Christmas tree. Start out with spindle. I turned this between centers. I think it would probably work better. Oh, it has to be between centers. I lied to you. Okay. You start it out like this, put it between centers, and you just turn your cylinder. And then what I did, as you can see, I cut a little ring there. It's really not much bigger than the ring on a normal live center. And then I marked an equilateral triangle. So there's 3 points now on that ring. And I use a step center. I have a real small step center. You bring tailstock up, it touches the center here. There's the problem. I lied to you, okay. Just like this ring I've cut here, I have one cut on this end. And so in other words, it's big diameter, and I've made 3 spots on them. You make them equilateral so that they're proportional. And then you leave this in the center, you bring this up, and you pick one of the off-center points. So it's like this now, and it spins like that. And you make cuts with a skew, and then you move it to the second one. And so whereas it was doing this, it's now doing this. What you've done essentially is change the part that's sticking out. You cut the skew, and you do it a third time, and you end up with this pattern. And at the end of that, I also recut the surface with a skew because I didn't want to remove some of the damaged grain. And so I think this is the second one I made. I think the thing to do is you stain it then with aniline dyes, and you use a real dark green, or you might even paint it. And then, after you've done that, you recut the surface. And so now, only inside your cuts, you have a dark green. And then you use a light green to stain the outside of it, and I think that'll look good. And this is a sitter. It's not something you hang on, it's too heavy. It was fun. I've never tried to turn stuff that was that eccentric with a skew. And if you look at it, you can see that I need a little help. Yeah, so I'm done. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah.